What's up guys, Anthony Vapes back here today with my review of the Sense Blazer 200 mod. It is a triple 18650 200 watt mod. I don't need any disclaimer for it. I purchased it myself actually in a kit version. It was like 50 bucks, I believe, 55 bucks for the mod with the Sense Blazer 200 tank on it, which is actually a pretty good tank if you use smoke coils in it. So nonetheless, don't need a disclaimer on it. But let's go ahead and move into the up close. I'll show you how it works. It's a really simple mod. I'll give you my tech testing results, and I'll be back here with my pros, cons, and whether I recommend it or not. All right, let's take an up close look at the Sense Blazer 200 mod. Here's the box it comes in. Now this is the kit version, so they're not always the kit version, which includes the Blazer 200 tank. It's got some spare coils, USB cable, manual. Looking at the mod, it's a simple mod. I don't know how many other colors there are. This is the only color available when I ordered it, but it does look nice, the black and white. It actually has a really nice shape in the hand. It feels really rounded off. Battery door is nice. You get your triple battery mod. Clips into place very well. Screen's a very basic screen, not much to it. Temperature is only in Celsius. I couldn't see any way to put it in Fahrenheit, which was weird, so I'm using it in Celsius. But 3 clicks goes into your menu. You have your modes: power, nickel, titanium, stainless, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not much to this mod. There's no preheats, no nothing. You can't adjust your wattage in it for the temp control. If you hold these down, nothing. You hold these down, nothing. So I mean, there's literally nothing to this mod too much. If I hold both of these, nothing. So very simple, very basic mod, not a lot of features to it. Got the power button. Buttons are a little rattly. I don't know if you can hear it because of the mic, but nonetheless, very basic, simple mod. It is what it is. So let's go ahead into the tech testing, and then I'll be with the outro. Alright, let's take a look at the test results for the Sense Blazer 200 mod. At 0.11 ohm resistance, 200 watts, it did 165 because we're hitting the amp limit. At 0.14 it did 194, and at 0.2 it did 190. For 175 at 0.11 it did 147, at 0.14 it did 160, and at 0.2 it did 162. At 150 watts, for 0.11 it did 131, at 0.14 145, and at 0.2 136. And the 100 watt setting, 86 on 0.11, 90 watts for 0.14, and 91 watts for 0.2. I take a quick look here at some of the limits. What I got here is the max amps it put out was 39 amps. That's why it capped off the limit here. The max watts was 194, so I'm okay with it being called a 200 watt mod. That's pretty close in my book. And the volt limit was a 6.158, so we'll say about 6 volts, a little bit over 6 volts. And that was the limit on that. Or because it should have been putting out more watts here, so that's where I'm capping that off at the limit. The batteries I used for this testing is the Sony VTC 5A. For temp control, it was very inconsistent. Sometimes it would be not bad but not great, but it was way too inconsistent though in order to actually be useful as a temp control device. Every once in a while you can get a decent vape out of it, but you go back 5 minutes later and now it's not so decent. Another thing that bothered me about it was it only has Celsius and no Fahrenheit, and normally I adjust using Fahrenheit. So I actually had to go and go online to a converter and find out what around 400 to 450 would be the range for Celsius. So I didn't like that there was only that option, but I wouldn't recommend this as a temp control mod either way. Overall, my impressions on this performance is it performs like a pretty decent dual battery mod, and that's the best way that I can put it. I think the performance is similar to some of the decent dual battery mods. It's not as good as the triple battery mods. It doesn't do as many watts. It doesn't have as good of an amp limit or as good of a volt limit. On top of that, actually, I will say a couple of quad battery mods only had a 40 amp limit. So, I mean, take what you will from it. But overall, it's basically a mod that performs like a pretty decent dual battery mod. Alright, so that was a look at the test results. Let's go into my pros, cons, and whether I would recommend this mod or not. First pro, this is going to be 30mm tanks. This mod will handle your 30mm tanks without any overhang. So feel free to throw on your Mod Fathers, or Robomizer Pluses, Iron Maidens, whatever you like, Omega Beast, Omega Alpha BFT, whatever you like for your 30mm tanks. Feel free to throw it on it. It does take them without any overhang. So that's a huge pro in my book, because there's not a lot of mods that do it. They're actually pretty decent mods. Next one's going to be the price. It's a very cheap mod for being a triple 18650, especially with some of the pros that it has, like handling the 30mm tanks. You're going to get good battery life out of it because of the extra battery. So price, definitely a pro for me in my book. It's not overly priced. Next one's going to be the battery life. Again, if you're using a triple battery mod, you're going to have good battery life compared to using a dual battery mod. Next one's going to be the performance. It does say what it does, so I have no complaints about the performance on it. It says a 200 watt mod is a 200 watt mod, and it works. Next one's going to be the kit. It comes in a kit version, which is always a plus in my book when they have mods that come in a kit that actually have a good tank with it. Let's go over the cons. First con is, my first one died on me. That is a con. I've had some bad luck with mods, to say the least, but it just died for no reason. I was vaping on it at night. It was working fine. I did my 5 clicks to turn it off, set it down on my shelf. When I went to pick it up in the morning to take my morning vape, when I woke up, wouldn't turn back on. Just completely died. Don't know why or anything. My next con is it does feel a little cheap. The buttons rattle. The screen's not that nice. I mean, after I used it for a little while, it didn't feel as cheap, but the first time when I got it, it kind of just felt cheap to me. But now it doesn't feel that cheap anymore. It actually is a really comfortable mod, which I should have mentioned in my pros. It's very rounded off, so it is super comfortable. And the fire button's in a nice spot, and the screen makes it feel like a right-handed device. But I don't know, it just kind of feels cheap for me. Maybe because the button rattles or the way the screen is, because it's rounded, but then the screen itself is flat. It's just kind of weird. My next con is going to be the battery performance. The 2 battery performance. What I mean by that is it performs like a good 2 battery mod. It doesn't perform like a triple battery mod. All the triple battery mods do much more watts. They have higher amp limits. They just perform, they give you more. But with that said, it's still, they don't lie about it. It performs like any good 2 battery mod would perform, or a decent one really, any decent 2 battery mod, but it will be a lot safer to actually take it to 200 watts. There's no issue taking this to 200 watts using, I use the Sony VTC 5A batteries, but even if you use 20 amp batteries in a triple battery mod, you can take it to 200 watts safely without an issue. So that is a pretty good pro in my book. The fact that you don't really have to worry about the safety of it, where if you have a dual battery mod and you get one of those super tanks, you want to vape it at 150 watts, 180 watts, 190 watts. I wouldn't do it in a dual battery mod, but I would do it in this triple battery mod. So the question is, would I recommend this or not? I don't like to give hard yeses or nos. This one I'm very 50-50 on. I would say a yes if you're looking for solid performance from if it was a 2 battery mod that will handle 30mm tanks, that's cheap, that feels good in your hand, and you're just going to vape it in watts mode mostly. It's a good mod for that. I'm going to say no if you are looking specifically for temp control. It's not a great vape in temp control by any means, so I wouldn't recommend it for that. Or if you wanted something that performed better or really was putting out like 200, 250 watts all the time, whatever. It's just, it's not something I really want to say absolutely go out and buy, but if you were looking for a mod that will give you good battery life that handles 30mm tanks and is reasonably priced, this is a very good option to pick for those people. Outside of that, I think there are definitely better triple battery mods out there. So this is Anthony Vapes. That was my thoughts on it. I want to thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Feel free to comment down below. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. This is Anthony Vapes, is always keeping it honest. Hopefully you guys can say you're doing the same, and I'll catch you on my next review.